Well, hello everyone, or whoever might actually be there. This is just a brief little kind of like tester thing that I'm doing here on Enfuegotainment, which is about to be like relaunching proper in the coming days. So yes, this is me just kind of doing a live stream test thing of sorts, and also just a brief discussion about my personal favorite films of 2018 that were not of the scarific variety. So I will say, bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the hottest entertainment with an edge. I'm Jaime En Fuego. You have probably seen me predominantly on the horror show, but I do have a solo channel here that has just been kind of chilling and doing nothing for quite a while. And the thing about that is that when I initially joined the horror show, way back in 2015, I believe it was. It was 2014, 2015 or something like that. But yeah, so long story short, I started my own channel right about that same time. I was doing heavy metal television, I was doing the horror show, and I was also trying to do this upstart personal channel of sorts. And as the horror show grew from a couple hundred subscribers, which it was at when I first joined, and we were starting season 2, it ballooned up to where we are at now. It's at almost 25,000 subscribers. So the numbers have been rolling, y'all, which is pretty fun and exciting. But my love is not entirely with horror. I mean, it's definitely there. I love my genre of filmmaking. I love my science fiction. I love my horror. I love, thrillers and all that stuff. But I love comedies. I love action films. I love, the dramatic art house silliness and things of that nature. So really boils down to the fact that Enfuegotainment initially was my outlet for covering things like that, whether it was an animated movie, whether it was a superhero film, whatever the hell it could have possibly been. And then as the horror show grew, I just kind of ended up pushing the channel to the side. But really, in a lot of ways, I want to reinvigorate this sort of separate coverage. And you guys are seeing me, at least currently, in the Chiron Cavern at Casa Calahante. But Chiron Cavern, this is where I rehearse with my band. And so once again, this is just a test, and where I'm going to be just sort of chillaxing and briefly talking here about my favorite non-horror films of 2018. And the thing is, I snuck a few in when I was doing this video with the horror show, and I was talking about like favorite films of the year. If I was to do just any film of any kind, I mean, A Quiet Place would definitely be there. Mandy with Nick Cage would definitely be there. Hereditary would be another one. Searching is one that wasn't really a horror movie, but it could kind of cross both sectors and stuff like that. Suspiria would be another one. Upgrade was one of my favorite films of the year. Same with Summer of '84 from the RKSS people. Annihilation. I had a lot of fun with Overlord, I'm just kind of double checking the list. And so those are ones that I would have to at least make mention of, because they were, despite being in the scarific territory, some of my favorite films of the entire year. So I'm not sure if like a chat even works, since I haven't really done this sort of live video. I'm just trying to get things set up, and there actually are people there. I got Rob, I got Scuba Steve, what up, y'all? I got Leroy Buchanan, if that is your real name, and I even got Scott Baker, what up, y'all? So thanks to the few homies that are chillaxing and tuning in. But so yeah, this isn't going to be talking about horror movies. This is just me doing a very brief little thing talking about the non-horror films that, if you're into just other kinds of filmmaking, I gotta recommend the hell out of to y'all. And so first and foremost, I'm gonna go with a low budget film. I know it's on VOD. I don't think that it is streaming anywhere, unfortunately, but I saw it at the Phoenix Film Festival when Cecil and I were covering that event. We don't have to just watch sci-fi and horror at that festival. One cool thing is when we're official press, they just let us, basically, they're like, hey, free tickets, as long as the screening isn't filled with either paying people or press people, we just get to kind of do our own thing, which is dope. And so I saw a movie called Low Life. And that's one thing that sucks about going live, is that we can't overlay photos or anything, But Low Life is basically the best Pulp Fiction clone that I have seen since Pulp Fiction. It's a young director, it takes place in LA. It's a modern day tale, so it's not like period piece. Everything period piece is so popular right now, right? Whether it's going to the 80s or the 90s or whatever. But yeah, Low Life has a bunch of interspersing stories, and there is one character in particular that I just love the hell out of. He's a luchador wrestler named El Monstro, and he's basically struggling with the fact that he's the new El Monstro. I guess his father was El Monstro, and so he has like this legacy to live up to and stuff. But he ties in with all of these different crazy things that are going on, from selling drugs to illegal trafficking of people and stuff like that, and a lot of it is being filtered through this fast food restaurant. And so all of these tales interlock. It's funny. It is hyper crazy friggin' violent, man. And there is one guy who gets released from prison, and he's got like this swastika like seriously tattooed on his face, and yet he's trying to get past this insane racist shizzle that he encountered when he was in prison. And so that's kind of interesting. And so yeah, guys, I have to say, as far as just fun and hyper violent, as I mentioned, if you get the chance, track down Low Life. It was super cool, and I definitely recommend the hell out of it. Now, if I'm going to jump to another film, which was also trying its damnedest to be a Tarantino clone and just succeeded at a very high level, I'm going to go with Drew Goddard's film called Bad Times at the El Royale. This isn't streaming anywhere yet, unfortunately, either. However, it's floating around on Redbox, and I'm positive you can get it if you still do, through the mail, through Netflix and stuff like that. But Bad Times at the El Royale, Drew Goddard, he's the guy who was behind Cabin in the Woods, fantastic film. And this is him kind of doing his best kind of Tarantino sort of thing with, so many different characters all converging on this hotel in the 70s. And it's basically housed, it straddles the border between California and Nevada. And so you're staying at this hotel. If you're staying on the Nevada side, you can gamble. If you're staying on the California side, you pay like a little extra a night. It's kind of funny. But the cast is ridiculous in this. You've got Chris Hemsworth, and he's playing like this cult leader. He does a hell of a job in it. Really, the standout is obviously going to be, none other than Mr. Jeff Bridges. He does a hell of a job in this film. Dakota Johnson, surprisingly, second film in 2018 that I saw her in. She's she's a babe, but everybody knows her from those stupid 50 Shades of Shite movies or whatever. And so, yeah, I think she's got kind of the short end of the stick, because I thought she was great in the Suspiria remake, and I think she's great in this. And it's a very extensive cast of people, and it's really in a lot of ways what I wanted Hateful Eight to be, where you've got all these people converging on this hotel, and everybody has like a mysterious past. You've got John Hamm there, what is everybody's agenda? What is everybody's angle? And once again, this is also hyper violent at times, and there's some really sinister secrets about this particular hotel. And if you've seen the trailers to Bad Times at the El Royale, you know that there's going to be that element of mystery. And it's a really cool movie. In fact, now that I think about it, it might even be like 68, 69. So maybe it's not even in the 70s, because I'm remembering a particular scene where you see Nixon on TV addressing the nation and whatnot. So yeah, Low Life and Bad Times at the El Royale are two of my favorite films of the year, and I definitely had to make mention of them here. So now I'm going to briefly jump into another film that I saw this year at the Phoenix Film Festival, and it's called The Last Movie Star. And The Last Movie Star, I know it's not Burt Reynolds' final role, but it was one of his final roles, and everybody knows that we lost him in 2018, unfortunately. So you're going to see that, scrolling through at the Oscars, which has no host, which is crazy to me. But yeah, long story short, this is Burt Reynolds playing a very meta character of sorts, in the regard that it's like, okay, he is this aging movie star who had like tons and tons of prior success, and now he's kind of washed up and forgotten. And he goes to this film festival that is going to be honoring him, and he thinks it's going to be a big time thing. And lo and behold, it is as podunk as it comes. The film festival is being held at a bar. Yeah, like a dive bar of sorts too. And yet the fandom is real. and the people are there and they're really excited, and they screen a couple of his films, and he basically gets sent along with this girl who knows who he is but does not think he is like in the business like her brother does. And so it's really the film starts, it's an A24 film if I'm not mistaken, and dude, it just legit twists the knife around in your stomach, especially seeing Burt Reynolds playing a character that is pretty much himself playing himself, and just all of the life flashing, career flashing before your eyes aspects associated with it. It's funny. But it really, more so for me, it's a dramedy, so it's a dramatic comedy, and it's one that, especially at the very beginning where his dog is sick and he takes the dog to the vet, and the dog has been with him for so long, and just I don't know. It's unfortunate that the new Tarantino movie that Burt Reynolds was supposed to be in, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they ended up having to recast that particular role. But if you get the chance, it has Chevy Chase in a small role in it, and then obviously Burt Reynolds pretty much playing himself. The Last Movie Star is one that is definitely worthy of checking out and tracking down, and so on and so forth, everybody. So another one that I have to mention is a film called Tully. Now, Tully is the newest Jason Reitman film, if I recall correctly. And he's the guy who did, he did Thank You for Smoking. He did, I want to say he did Up in the Air, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people know him for Juno. And this is actually him re-teaming with the screenwriter, Diablo Cody, who wrote Juno. And this has a terrific performance by Charlize Theron, and also by Mackenzie Davis, I believe her name is. And she's going to be in the new Terminator movie, which is crazy. She's kind of the baton passer of the Sarah Connor role. And that's another funny thing. Linda Hamilton is going to be in that new Terminator movie that Tim Miller is directing. But long story short, Tully is a very cool reteaming because it's about this mom, and she is pregnant, and she already has chillins. And she is overwhelmed, y'all, like legit overwhelmed. And her husband is the dude from Office Space, whose name I totally forget. But nonetheless, so they end up deciding they're going to get a night nanny. And the night nanny is played by Mackenzie Davis. And so it's like, okay, somebody who, after you have the baby, after you have the newborn and stuff, is going to keep an eye on, actually let you sleep, And it's funny because I didn't realize this was a legit thing until I was talking to some younger friends of my parents who go to their church, and they were like, oh yeah, we have the night nanny coming, because they just had triplets, these friends of my parents. And I was just like, holy shnikes, y'all are crazy. I guess you don't really have a choice in that matter. But it's a really interesting, it's very well written. Shout out to Diablo Cody, obviously, former stripper and all that silliness. But she wrote Jennifer's Body, she wrote Juno, and she wrote this, and she's done some other stuff too. But the way she crafts the friendship between the night nanny and between Charlize Theron's character, it's terrific. Honestly, the chemistry and the dynamic, it's heartwarming, it's endearing, it's charming. And yeah, Tully, I know, once again, it's at the red boxes. It's if you still do Netflix through the mail like this archaic person does, I know it's there. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, unfortunately. But yeah, Reitman, Ivan Reitman's son, he does a great job directing this. All the performances are good across the board. So yeah, I got to recommend the hell out of Tully. Tully is damn good. Another dramatic film that I have to really just champion the hell out of. It's got Ben Foster, I believe his name is, and he plays this dad who is basically living out in the redwoods in Northern California with his daughter. And this is a film called Leave No Trace. Leave No Trace, also screened at the Phoenix Film Festival, made the rounds on the festival circuit, got a lot of acclaim. I know it's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, and with good reason, because this film is really heartbreaking in a lot of ways. Leave No Trace, the dynamic is so beautiful yet so sad, because his daughter has acclimated to this just living out in the wilderness, and they're almost squatting in the woods because of the fact that you're not supposed to be residing out there, and so they're constantly hiding from authorities and park rangers and stuff like that. And they end up being found, and then they are taken into not so much custody, but into some sort of like protective service kind of thing. And the government really puts their neck out trying to get them into a decent housing situation. And they're so acclimated to just living out in the middle of nowhere and being off the grid. And that's their preference. But the problem is, after getting a taste of just domesticated life, the daughter wants it. And Ben Foster, who's a hell of an actor, man, I will watch that dude in anything. He has really crept up there with, Cillian Murphy and Michael Shannon and, just some of my, Sam Rockwell. These are some of my favorite working actors in Hollywood today. I think they're tremendous. And so for that reason, he gives a killer performance. And the crazy thing is, though, that he's got some serious PTSD going down. He's former military, and just the love that you feel between him and the actress who plays his daughter, and she's a teenager and stuff, and she is loyal to a fault to her father. But it really boils down to, as they hop from place to place, how loyal is she going to remain to her father is really where it's at. And it's a drama through and through. Female director does a tremendous job. I think this was based on a novel, if I'm not mistaken. Beautifully shot in the northwestern United States and stuff. There's time spent in Northern California, Portland, Seattle, and stuff like that. I think they filmed it entirely in Oregon, though, if I'm not mistaken. But Leave No Trace is a terrific film. And I'm just going to jump on real quick and see if we still have Subfuego, Willis Scredia. Yes, CP, what's up, guys? Yeah, this is just me waxing and doing a little brief kind of tester, seeing if the live streaming is working and everything here in the Chiron Cavern. I've got Scott Martin there. If you're 555, then I'm 666. They still do Netflix in the mail. Yes, they do still do Netflix in the mail, and I still have it. Yeah, I just got Blu-ray in the mail today. So yeah, thus far I have briefly mentioned Leave No Trace, Bad Times at the El Royale. I have mentioned Tully. I have mentioned The Last Movie Star. I have mentioned Low Life. And if I'm going to do another live action film before I round things out with superhero and animated stuff, I definitely have to mention my love of Black Klansman, the new Spike Lee joint that I just saw. It's another dramatic comedy. This one leans more so on the comedy aspect for the sheer fact that it's legit based on true events, and I can't even fathom the true and insane aspect of this. There was, in fact, in the 1970s, an African-American officer for a Colorado police department that did his part to infiltrate the KKK. And I guess after, decades later, he wrote a book about it, which is, the film is based on those memoirs. It's easily the best and most accessible Spike Lee joint in a long, long time. Got to give a big shout out to Kylo Ren, who is the Jewish counterpart who goes and plays FaceTime with the KKK, and all of the phone work, in his best white voice, which makes me think of Sorry to Bother You, is all done by Denzel Washington's kid. And he's great in this. And I love 70s period pieces. The costuming is great. It's funny. It has its dramatic beats when it needs to. It covers some very pertinent topics that have just crept into today. And so, yeah, Black Klansman is awesome. You really get the vibe at the very beginning of the film after this PSA by Alec Baldwin, where it's funny because it's like the straight through of him filming the PSA. And so he's like fudging his lines and getting pissed off and stuff. And it's super white supremacist insanity, but it's done to a level where it's very funny. I know this is probably a controversial film for a gringo like me to discuss, but it's an important film. And it's when Spike Lee starts out the movie by saying, this is based on some real ass shit, and then you kind of get the vibe that you're going for. I must admit, though, especially after, going to visit Lily a couple times in Colorado this past year in 2018, I'm looking around and I'm just like, this is supposed to be Colorado. That doesn't look like Colorado to me. And then sure enough, I find out in the post credits and stuff as I'm looking that they filmed it in New York. Come on, Spike Lee, filming it in New York, dude. it does not double as Colorado. Sorry, not sorry, just not the same. But performances are good. It's funny. Anytime you have a film that's over 2 hours and it does not feel like it's at that length, you're doing something right. Foreman is in this as the leader of the KKK in the 70s, based on a real person, and he is he does a great job. I don't want to say he's hilarious, but he is, so with his bumbling stupidity, the asininity of the viewpoints and stuff, and that with a lesser talented filmmaker, a movie like BlacKkKlansman, it's a really tough line to straddle, and especially with the subject matter. And I got to say, Spike Lee did a hell of a job. BlacKkKlansman was great. It's definitely one of my 11 favorite films that I saw this year, not of the scarific variety. So now we're going to jump into the superhero genre. And really, I got to say, two of the three, well, actually, no, two of the four, because honestly, I was really disappointed in Deadpool 2. I was not the biggest fan of that, despite the fact that the Celine Dion video was hella hilarious and super funny. That film just overstuffed the turkey and stuff. I haven't seen the Once Upon a Deadpool or whatever the hell, where they tamed it down to PG-13 and they bookended it with Fred Savage and stuff. But the two superhero movies that go hand in hand that I thought were just fantastic. Black Panther was awesome. It's funny though. I was watching Collider the other day, and they were talking about how the least interesting thing in Black Panther was Black Panther himself. And in a lot of ways, I really do feel like that is a proper assessment, because whether it was his sister, whether it was the villainy of Michael B. Jordan, all of the supporting players and the cast around him, I thought like it was an awesome ensemble. It really, really was. The way that the way they turned Wakanda into a legit, straight up, I don't know. It had such James Bond vibes to me, and I honestly haven't really loved the James Bond films since Daniel Craig's first one, Casino Royale. I know everyone loves Skyfall. Skyfall's pretty damn good, but I feel like there's been more misses than hits with the Craig Bond, and so I love Connery, obviously, in the role. He's my personal favorite. Although I really think Timothy Dalton was kind of unsung and underappreciated personally. But yeah, long story short, though, I love the hell out of Black Panther. It was slick. It was fun. The ensemble was tremendous, and it really laid the groundwork for the other superhero movie I have to give a shout out to, which is Avengers: Infinity War. This had such massive dramatic gravitas, and I was disappointed about the fact that characters like Captain America and Black Panther were underserved in some aspects, in my opinion, but it was still a damn good movie, and it had the vibe that I loved so much from both Guardians and from Ragnarok, and so I was totally okay with that. I was okay with more emphasis being put on the Spidey and on Iron Man and on rabbits and the rest of the Guardians, and I'm super stoked that they had the bold stroke to end the film in the manner in which that they did. I thought Brolin was great. It's funny, he made a ton of money this year if you look at both him being in Deadpool 2, which I was underwhelmed by, and then the terrific job as Thanos in this. And they gave a lot more weight to the Thanos character and made him not just black, to the white of the Avengers and all the Marvel heroes that are going against him and stuff like that. They actually made him a shade of gray, and they made him interesting, and they made him like a fully developed character, as opposed to just being just this boring whatever sort of thing. And so so Black Panther, while I think I can't say that I necessarily liked one more than the other, because they were so drastically different. One's an origin story, and one is like a culmination of a decade of groundwork and stuff like that. So yeah, I enjoyed both of those Marvel movies. I was really looking forward to Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's the other one that comes to mind. And the original Ant-Man is right up there with Guardians, and Doctor Strange is probably my favorite standalone, Marvel films aside from the Avengers and stuff. But I was underwhelmed by Ant-Man and the Wasp. I felt like it was trying too hard to just copy things and so on. But if I'm going to jump into animated stuff now, as I round out this, and right at about 30 minutes, which is right where I wanted to be for this little tester talking about my favorite films of 2018. But I just finally got the chance to watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse the other night. Watched it in 3D. Holy shnikes, y'all. This movie was terrific. Absolutely terrific. Not that familiar with the Ultimate Universe as far as Marvel Comics and stuff like that go. I'm not well versed on Miles Morales, but that's the beauty of this film, is the fact that it's a very solid initiation and orientation for people who are unaware of just how crazy comics are. I know, DC is really notorious for all the alternate Earths and different dimensions because of all the Crisis storylines that they've done before, but. Yeah, I gotta say, this is a good primer, just for the very casual comic book viewer or reader or superhero film fan, just to get into stuff. The 3D in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was legit some of the best that I have seen ever. We're talking, it's up there with Avatar and Coraline, and some of the best that I've ever seen. Boy, the Sam Raimi the Oz movie had some terrific 3D too. And so, but you have to think though, 3D and animation and the look of this film was just so badass. I have to say, the way that they seamlessly incorporated both 2D animation and 3D animation, it more so than maybe any superhero film I've ever seen, felt like a comic book brought to life because of the way they did the thought bubbles, the way that they had, pages switching around. And it's so funny and it's so self-aware. I mean, whether it's Peter Porker, whether it's, it's Spider-Man Noir, and the fact that he comes from a world of black and white and he's just obsessed with the Rubik's Cube and stuff. I mean, I love this movie. And the alternate universe Peter Parker, where he's all caught up on the fact that seahorses mate for life. And I should really do just like a full review of this film. I know Cecil did on the horror show with Mercer, but damn, y'all, Into the Spider-Verse was friggin' terrific. I had so much fun with this movie. It might be my favorite superhero movie of the year, but I mean, that's the thing. Infinity War was just such an amazing culmination of so many things. And, but yeah, it is probably the best animated movie that I saw this year, but coming really, really close was Ralph Breaks the Internet. I still don't know why they didn't call it Ralph Wrecks the Internet, and that's a point of contention amongst a lot of people. I actually, I know Cecil preferred the first one, and he told me that he was underwhelmed by Ralph Breaks the Internet, but I loved it. I loved the commentary about internet culture, especially being a daily YouTuber like I am, and just being so sucked into social media and stuff. Lily was definitely right about the fact that it is an addiction in some ways. Well, not in some ways, like through and through. Social media, we're all on our little phonies all the damn time. But yeah, and it's got a lot of commentary about that aspect of our culture. I am amused at the fact that of all of the different social media outlets that gave sanction to the film, whether it was Twitter or whatever, YouTube apparently was not one of them. But I felt like this was the matured version of the character and his dynamic, because his friendship with the little race car driver girl voiced by Sarah Silverman, it's really at the core of this story. It's about knowing when a friendship is holding somebody you care about back, and how people, as friends, we don't necessarily have an obligation to stick around and just be in somebody's life in a day-to-day basis if it's kind of holding you back. And these are like deep, serious themes here, y'all. And it's something that we struggle with as adults, honestly, and just knowing when to let go, I guess, and let somebody, be that butterfly and, blossom and go through their metamorphosis and fly off and everything. Yeah, I felt like Ralph Breaks the Internet and dealt with much deeper themes of maturing and growing up and just accepting and letting go and all these other things. Yeah, I thought that was a lot deeper than I was expecting this one to twist. And granted, there is some silliness, and it's not the best animated movie that I saw this year, but and maybe it is a little more self-aware than it needs to be, and that may turn some people off, and that may be a lot more fun for others. don't know. It's basically just part of the process, and it is what it is. But yeah, Ralph Breaks the Internet, I thought was great, and I had a lot more fun with it. Although I did really enjoy Incredibles 2 quite a bit. I actually liked Incredibles 2 better than the first one. Yeah, Ralph Breaks the Internet was definitely one of my favorite movies of this year, although Spider-Verse is definitely better. So as I cross the 30-minute threshold here in this little tester talking about my favorite non-horror films of 2018 here on Enfuegotainment Live, I am jumping to, finally and lastly, the newest Wes Anderson film called Isle of Dogs. He did it in the same stop motion animation sort of approach that he did for Fantastic Mr. Fox. The extent of voice talent in this, whether it's Bryan Cranston or Bill Murray, it just goes on and on and on and on. It's a very simple story, it's like not too distant future kind of thing where dogs are blamed for being a part of this flu, and they're some of the main carriers, and they're spreading it throughout Tokyo and stuff like that. And so all of the canines are taken and put on this separate island. And it's like the storytelling actually goes super deep. It traces all the way back to feudal Japan, and in feudal Japan, that's where there was this clan. I don't know if that's even the proper word. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot like Cecil and I did for the trailer reaction, The Kingdom. But long story short, they were cat lovers. This family, this clan. And so for that reason, they've always had this ongoing vendetta against dogs. I know it sounds silly and simplistic, but it really works in the storytelling. And so this guy, descendant from that family, has risen to a position of power in Japan. And so he's the one who spearheads this entire thing of getting all of these dogs. I keep thinking plague dogs, and then I start thinking, oh yeah, plague dogs and Watership Down and all that other stuff. Plague dogs, if y'all have never seen plague dogs, holy shnikes, I love the hell out of that animated film. Talk about one of the most depressing that you will ever see. But the beautiful visual style, I loved just the stylistic sensibilities of Isle of Dogs. I personally preferred it to Fantastic Mr. Fox. I know everybody loves Roald Dahl, and so that's it's a point of debate amongst fans, this being an original idea that Wes Anderson, he actually worked on this with his buddy Roman Coppola and with Schwartzman, and all those dudes are closely knit, and they've worked on various projects together and stuff like that. And then I know there was a Japanese collaborator as well, because the predominance of this movie is subtitled. It's spoken in Japanese, and you get your English subtitles, and the dogs are the ones who are all speaking in English. And it's such a fun movie. It just put a smile on my face. It left me in such a terrific mood. I went and I purchased it immediately after watching it. It's fun. It's creative. It's all of the things that you would really expect from a Wes Anderson movie. I know his sensibilities are they're selective with some. I adore Life Aquatic and Darjeeling Limited and Royal Tenenbaums and Hotel Budapest and stuff like that. However, I know that Wes Anderson isn't for everybody. And so if Wes Anderson isn't for you, I don't necessarily think that you will love the hell out of this movie, but I personally did, and it just might be my favorite film of the year. Unfortunately, there's still a few that I have yet to see. I love the director of The Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer. He has a film floating around called The Favorite that I have yet to see. I still haven't seen Alfonso Cuarón's Roma yet. I really wasn't too big on either of the two musicals that are getting a lot of notoriety at the moment, which is the We Will Rock You, Bohemian Rhapsody, Queen biopic. Also, boy, if my voice wasn't starting to give out on me, A Star Is Born, the fourth time they've made this film. Yeah, I mean, good performances, Rami Malek and Bradley Cooper and Gaga and stuff. But at the end of the day, just one being a remake and then one feeling very much like a behind the music kind of very safe picture. Originally they wanted Bohemian Rhapsody it was going to have Borat in it, and the actor who plays Borat and stuff. Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen, he did not like how safe they wanted to make the picture, and I guess the members of Queen took some exception with the original script and some of the things that they were going after. They wanted it to be a very vanilla and very just kind of by the numbers feel good thing, as opposed to really just tackling some of the tougher topics that was Freddie Mercury's life. And so yeah, I omitted those. I didn't throw those on my list, but yeah, there's still a few, as I said, that I have yet to get the chance to see. And yes, I'm thinking once we have all of the nominations for the Academy Awards for like the best pictures, I will do a film by film review of all of those. And so yeah, this is basically from the Chiron Cavern, a little tester for me here, talking briefly about my favorite non-scarific films of 2018. And just to give a brief rundown of what those were once again, we had Low Life, we had Bad Times at the Royale, we had Black Klansmen, we had The Last Movie Star with Burt Reynolds, we had Tully, we had Black Panther, we had Avengers Infinity War, we had Leave No Trace, we had Ralph Breaks the Internet, we had Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and we had Isle of Dogs. And so, yeah, if you get the chance to check out any of those films, they are all awesome, and I can vouch for them being pretty badass. And yes, if you want to see all the scarific stuff that I've done, definitely jump on and check out Cecil and I doing our best horror of 2018. We also did our worst of 2018, and we kept it to 6 as opposed to 10. And we're also going to be doing a most disappointing this upcoming weekend. It was a video we weren't sure if we were going to do initially, but after further discussion, we were just like, yeah, let's talk about the movies that, while they may not have been the worst of the year, the ones that we had such high hopes for, the burden of expectation, as I all too often describe. And so, yeah, that's a video that you can look forward to on the horror show. If you dig this video, please subscribe if you just happen to cross it. There's going to be more Enfuegotainment coverage of the proper variety coming sooner rather than later. And yes, check out everything else that I do here on the YouTubes on The Horror Show. It can be found at youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. We, at least for the time being, do 2 episodes a day. We are going to be shifting in the month of February to 1 episode a day and bonus content on our Patreon. And also, I'm going to be launching some bonus content for a Patreon here for Enfuegotainment as well in the near future. So yes, if you're down with what I am doing here, or if you just want to hear more of my pop culture observations and ramblings and stuff like that, I'm on all social media sectors, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and then obviously you're seeing me here on YouTube. So yep, Jaime En Fuego. It's spelled kind of like Jamie, Jaime Enfuego. And yes, I spend the predominance of my time on the Twitter and Instagreasies, but yes, I'm also on Facebook and YouTube as well. So I extend a grande gracias to anybody who just, whether you're subscribed already or just happen to stumble upon this from the Chiron Cavern, as I call it. So yes, until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, ha 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 ha. I've been Jaime En Fuego. Y'all have been badass, awesome. And until yes, the next bit of content comes around from me, hasta luego, Cinemigos. I hope that it is sooner rather than later. And yes, until that comes around and I have more of the hottest entertainment with an edge to discuss with you, peace out, adios. And yes, I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Gotta come up with a better outro, right? Right? Yeah. Thanks so very much, all. Oh, Trent Davis, Cecil Del Fuego is back. Yes, kinda, sorta. Did you see that they are releasing the Plague Dogs on Blu-ray? Yes, I did, and it's actually supposedly Scott going to be the uncut version of it, which makes me oh so very happy. And yes, so thanks everybody who tuned in, and yes, I will talk to y'all soon. Hasta luego.